Welcome to the webinar, Transforming Your IT Service Management, ITSM with Generative AI. My name is Eric Wallace with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. I have a few administrative details to share with you, and then we'll turn things over to our speakers. First, we'd like to thank Freshworks for their partnership with today's event. They've been wonderful partners to Argyle, and they're committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. Thank you again to Freshworks. We appreciate you joining us today. We also welcome you to stay socially connected during today's event. For those of you who are active on social media, please use the hashtag ArgyleDigital and follow us at Argyle Exec Forum. Also, be sure to follow Argyle on LinkedIn for special announcements. I also wanted to take a moment to touch on our content neutrality policy, which we've curated based on the feedback we've received over the years from our members. We've worked closely with our speaking faculty to ensure that you receive a set of balanced and neutral viewpoints during the session today, and we appreciate our members' support of this policy. Finally, and most importantly, we want to hear from you, so please submit all questions that come up during the session into the chat section of the interface. Following the discussion, we've set aside time for our speakers to weigh in on your questions. Now, without further delay, we'll introduce our speakers and we'll begin our discussion. Today, we're joined by David Flesch, who is Vice President of Product Marketing at Freshworks, and Tammy Pinter, who is Global IT Practice Leader, Executive Advisory Program Senior Director at the Hackett Group. Welcome, speakers. Tammy, over to you.
All right, so let's just cut to the chase. David, I'm just going to throw this out there because it's what everybody wants to know. AI in ITSM, right? How many questions? How do we approach? What does that mean for our service providers? Like nonstop questions since, ChatGPT kind of took the stage, even though we've been in AI and, automation for a long time. But what does this mean to you?
Well, I think to the industry, what this means is just, continuous change, right? And I think we're all used to that. I've been serving the IT industry for quite a while now. I've got the gray hairs to show for it. And, it's all about change. And I think that what we've seen with generative AI is really exciting because it's creating new opportunities to adopt AI in ways that will be, more transformative to organizations, where organizations will not require, data scientists to get AI to work for them, right? And
Right.
So, we've heard a lot of hype, a lot of talk about Gen AI. It's the first time that AI has really been at the dinner table where people are talking about it, right, across industries, across, different jobs and roles. So it's really exciting. I think it can also be really daunting, right? I think for the IT industry and for IT service management specifically, it's creating a lot of opportunities. Some of them will be generative AI based, and some of them will be, other types of AI. I think for IT service management, what we'll see is a significant change in how people are interacting with in having services delivered to them. So where it will be kind of AI led, but it will be much more conversational. And that's something that generative AI is creating, that opportunity, right? To create that much more conversational interaction where somebody can go and request services through whatever channel they prefer using, whether it's, a mobile channel, whether it's a portal, whether it's Teams or Slack or whatever, right? They can go in and they can simply ask, hey, I need something, right? And the AI can come in, and instead of just saying, hey, here's a form to go fill out, here's a list to choose from, it's asking questions, right? It feels more like talking to another person. And so the benefit is that it's less of a jarring interface for people, right? It becomes a more natural interface. And then it also creates that opportunity to actually identify what somebody needs and hopefully deliver them the right, services, right response, right answers to help them, get the services that they need. And the benefit of that AI is it's anytime, it's any place, right? It doesn't have to be during normal working hours. It's, hey, it's midnight and I'm in, another country and I need something because I'm getting prepared for a meeting tomorrow, and I just realized I don't have something that's critical for me. And AI can help with that, right? So again, super exciting. Like, what are you seeing, Tammy? What are you hearing?
So, at the Hackett Group, we get asked this all the time. Like when it first came out, they're like, "Oh, will my job be replaced? Will this like be everything that we need? How do we implement this?" So one of the things at the Hackett Group that I've done a lot with our team is to talk about enablement. It's a technology enablement. It's something we've been doing since the 70s. We've called it different names throughout the years. It could be RPA. It could be, automation. Actually, it is automation. So where it got a lot of hype because Chat GPT took it to a new level, right? And it got a lot of press and everybody was like, this is going to displace workers. No, it's not. It's another level of automation, right? And it's a great level of automation, meaning that, yes, we can automate some of the most basic of questions. We can automate them with a human touch. It can do predictive analytics based on the knowledge that it has. So it's a great tool. It's a great tool. And companies ask the Hackett Group all the time, like, how can we take advantage of this right now? What should we do? Should we go out and teach our own large language model? No, that is very expensive, right? So what I talked to our team about was talk to your service providers, your application providers, understand what their roadmap is in implementing these next level tools or capabilities. So that's where I become involved. And in just like, so companies don't go completely off the rails and think they need to have an entire AI group. You do need to adopt like your disclosures. You kind of need to, I'm sorry, not adopt, but adapt your disclosures, make sure that you're covered. But automation's been going on for a long time. And this is just another form of automation. So I'm just thinking that with my clients coming to me, they're excited because we're all excited about it, but I really push them back towards our solution and application providers. And I really do think that knowing what your plan is for adopting this capability is what's key in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's good advice. And like I said, I think the promise of generative AI is that you don't necessarily need the data scientists, right? The vendors have the data scientists and are using that to build their large language models and build the applications that are actually using that technology to deliver, value to customers. As we're looking at Freshworks, how do we deliver AI to our customers so that they can deliver it to their customers and their employees? We look at a number of different ways. One is obviously that employer-customer interaction, right? So that's that virtual agent,
right?
And that's providing that front level of service. But also, and I think that's kind of, that's something that we've been delivering through other forms of AI or even through earlier forms of GPT for a while now, right? We've been delivering AI capabilities through virtual agents, chatbots since 2018. We're using GPT-2 for more precise responses in 2021. So, like you said, Tammy, it's not new, right? It's like the next step.
Yeah.
Where I do see the opportunity is to, one, assist agents in the work that they're doing, right? And provide more context for them in the conversations that they're having with someone, right? Whether it's an employee, whether it's a customer, and informing them about, hey, here's all the things that have happened so far. Here's what we know about this person. And based on that information and what they're talking about, being able to inform that agent in a much more meaningful way, right? And in the past, we've been able to inform agents, but typically what that means is there's a lot of information that gets put in front of an agent, right? We know that there's, system issues in some areas. We know that there's knowledge articles, service catalog items, here's the history of this person that you're talking to. And, gets overwhelming, being able to take that information and consolidate it into something that says, hey, here's what you need to know, right? Here's, hey, we have an outage or we have a performance degradation. Obviously, number one, let's get that in front of you and make sure that you're not trying to solve something that we know is already a work in progress.
Right.
But also, hey, we know that based on this, we think this knowledge article is the right thing. Send that to the person you're working with, or walk them through the steps. Or, hey, you know what? They're having an issue with their laptop, and their laptop is actually at the end of lease. Let's not mess with that. Let's just get
Right.
them, get that replaced. So a lot of, opportunities to just drive, remove friction from those processes, to arm the agents, to help them be more successful, and to help remove a lot of the drudgery that agents
Right.
deal with. Because we know, tier one support is a tough business to be in. We know it's tough to manage those teams. It's tough to get them ready to talk to people. And we know that there's a lot of churn in there just because of kind of the monotony that can go on with that level of support. So by letting the Gen AI provide, that tier zero support, and then remove some of that friction for the agents, the idea there is, hey, let's make their lives better, so that we don't have those kinds of churn issues with staff.
Yeah, I mean, it is consumable, right? When it gets to that person, it's consumable, it's predictive, it has done a level of analysis, which we haven't been at before, right? It was just static. It was, here's what we see, and you still, as a human, needed to be like, slice and dice this information. What does it mean to us? But our artificial intelligence has taken it to a new level. It's done a little bit of, calculation and predictive analytics and predictive analytics. I shouldn't actually gloss over that. I mean, that's a lot, right? That is what we're taking off of our tier one and tier two and repetitive type of tasks, is that it sees it, it predicts it, and it recommends. Right. And so Vince in our chat, he said it is too early to talk about replacement people still in its infancy development. Oh, most definitely. It still needs human interaction. It still needs human intervention. It still needs human oversight. Right. So Vince, you're spot on. I mean, people that were running around saying, oh my God, we're going to get rid of all these people. No, it's just, you've now automated a repetitive task, hopefully added some additional insights of meaning, here's this processing power, right? We're processing, not us having to process, but they're processing in predictive analytics, and here's a recommendation. Now at the end of the day, as a person that does the job every day, does this make sense? There still has to be a human element of oversight and make sure that the factors that it was given, or it develop that prediction on, is accurate, right? So it's just the automation of this. We've been doing this for years. It's a transference of day-to-day repetitive tasks to something that can be more intelligent, right?
Absolutely. And like you said, Tammy, this is early days, right? So, and the large language models and generative AI are all based on the data, right? And the quality of the data. And we know that, if you point an AI at bad data, you're not going to get great results, right?
Right.
And even though it might have the ability to go do some predictive analysis and come up with what looks like a response, that may not be the right response. So certainly there's a role I see, in the immediate, and in the future even, for people to be looking at, hey, what is coming out? What are the responses that the AI is providing? And is this accurate, right? Is this actually solving somebody's problem? And a lot of that will come from looking at the kinds of results that AI is providing, right? I mean, we see, customers using AI, getting great results. At the same time, it's not something you just put it out there and expect it to magically work, right? You have to be able to have eyes on it, right? This is where your experienced technical people are super valuable. They can look at the responses and say, hey, this doesn't make sense. We need to now go figure out why, right? Why is the AI providing something that's not right?
Right.
The other thing is you talked about, predictive analytics, and that's a really powerful application of generative AI, right? It's being able to use the data that's in your system and be able to mine information out of it in a way that's been, typically been very challenging, right? Where you've
Right.
had to use, SQL queries and other database, machinations and data slicing to be able to go out there and try to find the answers, right? You really had to know, hey, what are the questions, and being able to try to get to the right answers. And now with generative AI and being able to use much more conversational prompts to try to get answers, that will start surfacing more information, right, that you can respond to. So it will be things as simple as, hey, what has generated the bulk of my incidents, right?
Right.
And based on that information, do I have the knowledge articles to actually support the resolution of those incidents in a way that's going to be streamlined? Is it even something that I can apply to, a self-service capability?
Mhm.
Or is it something that, hey, we just have a system that we need to go figure out what's going on with it, right? We need to figure out what the root cause is and actually solve that real problem on that system. And then also, as you're applying generative AI, looking at, hey, what's the success rate, right? We should be expecting high success rates. And if we're not, well, why is this not what, if I'm not being, 50, 60+% successful, where are the pockets of, the deltas, right? What's not working, right? And identify, well, what's coming up from my employees, my users, and what is not actually working for them. Where are they not getting the help that they need? And then we can go chase that down, right? Then we can take our teams, our agents, or people that are not necessarily responding to all those incoming requests, right? And put them on the real meaningful work of, hey, we need to go get better answers, right? We need to go be able to make sure that we're actually equipping the AI with the information it needs to be able to help employees solve the problems that they're facing.
Yeah, like the incident response. So, AI is actually, like I said, I know it blew up this year with all of the press, but it's been in service management, network management, and security management for quite a few years, to be able to identify like bad actors, predict, things that are anomalies, something it can do faster than we can do as humans. Before, we had patterns were given to us, a little red flag was raised, but now it's taken to a whole new level, right? It not only can detect a pattern or a bad actor, it can also predict if it's going to happen again, or maybe our loophole, or suggest, a way to like fix it in service management, right? If we educate it correctly. So in ITSM, in one of the, I think it was Peter, he was asking a couple of questions, right? And ITSM, he started off with the copyright, but then he narrowed it down and saying, in ITSM, is the scope narrowed that really should not be an issue? Like, do you see like, we're training this model, but is there going to be a bigger issue because somebody else patented it, somebody else copyrighted it, somebody else decided we can't use it that way? So the way that I think the public in general, right, not IT specifically, in general, we've been using it for, fun things, right? We've been using it for helping us write this or creatively, and now this copyright issue is coming, right? But in IT, I see it differently. I see it as something that's a tool that's predictive. I wouldn't see copyright being an issue. If I'm going to license it from Microsoft, I expect that I can do whatever I need to do with it. I'm going to pause there and see if you have an opinion on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, Tammy. Again, I think it's early days. That's a really good question, right? I'm surprised that Microsoft's talking about copyright now, because I know that, I use Bing regularly, and just playing with their GPT features. And I know that they are doing copyright monitoring in that environment. So how does that affect ITSM? So I think, when we think about processes and workflows and things like that, I don't see that changing, right? It's the way organizations are operating.
Right.
I don't think that there's copyright issues necessarily there, right? And every organization is going to operate the way that they feel is best for where they are in their in their life cycle, right?
Right.
Now, where copyright I can see coming in at some point in time is with language models, right?
Right.
And
right. Yeah.
where are you going to get information that you are using to actually, to generate the responses that you're providing back to your organization? And again, it's early days. I don't think we've seen people monetizing, say, language models yet, or content that's going into language models, but I could see that happening in the future, right? I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge, there's a wealth of content that's out there, and who knows if somebody decides to monetize that in some way or not, right? It's we'll see where that goes.
I can be perfectly honest. I was not a Bing user before ChatGPT, and before ChatGPT, before Microsoft being completely integrated, right? And now it's a powerful tool. Like, I always use Google. I never use Bing. But now in my workplace, which is fully Microsoft, fully integrated, I use it because it's a powerful tool. Internal search and external search. So yeah, and now that they've added the ChatGPT version of Bing, I will say you cannot use the word graphic, by the way. It is against their content creation. I was just trying to can you please create this graphic? And then I realized graphic may have been a word that they mean you can't have graphic content. And I just wanted a graphic. So in ITSM for Freshworks, though, can you tell us a couple ways that you have integrated this capability?
Oh, sure. So as I said earlier, Tammy, we started delivering AI-based solutions in 2018, right? So virtual agents, some agent assist capabilities. In 2021, we're using GPT-2 to provide more precise answers. Now we're using the latest version of generative AI, and we are applying that in a number of different ways, right? And in a lot of the ways that we've talked about. So one is, how do we provide better answers for employees and customers, right?
Yeah.
And how do we do that? And really, I think the way that is transforming is the interaction, right? Making it much more of a conversational engagement. And I think that is something that we can expect to see a significant change in ITSM in general, is just how do you engage? How do your employees engage for IT services, right? Traditionally, it's been very form-based. You go to a portal, you fill out a form, make a request for what you need. And somebody follows up on a form, it shows up on an inbox, those kinds of things. With GPT or generative AI, and the way that is able to, process natural language, this is going to create opportunities for things to be much more conversational. So while on the back end, sure, the forms get created and processed, and they're there to support the data and analytics side of things, the way that people interact can be much more human, can be much more interactive, and just how people talk to each other, right? So I think that will be a big change, and we just see how do employees engage with their organizations, with the IT team, IT teams, just to get the things that they need, right? It becomes a very conversational interaction. And, that's something that we've seen in the consumer space for a while, right? Is when a customer goes to a vendor and, in the consumer space, and they have questions, they have needs, they are much less likely to be filling out forms and much more likely to be having conversational experiences. And that's just what people are expecting. And we know that what people experience in the consumer space becomes what they expect to have in the workspace.
Right, right. So, David, do you agree, like, with the kind of advice I've been giving our clients is like, talk to your vendors, talk to your service providers, see how they're adopting this technology. Do not try to go out on your own and create a one-off, right? Do you agree with that approach, or should I modify my message to my clients?
Well, I definitely think, don't go off on do the one-off. I know that can be the modus operandi of some, technology organizations, but I think especially in this space when we're looking at, again, large language models, compute power required to actually make these capabilities work, and then the work that goes on in creating the interactions, right? It's something that talk to your vendors, like you said, talk to your vendors, see what they're doing. We have 1,000+ of our customers that are actually in beta with us right now, working on kind of our next gen experiences, whether it's with the virtual agents, whether it's with their admins or their agents, and how they're getting that assist, right? How they're getting that additional information. And not only is it the information they're receiving, but it's helping them in replies, right? Which I think is actually really powerful, right? And customers I've talked to, they'll have knowledge bases available, they have information available to their agents, but we all know there's different degrees of experience that agents have, and you bring in somebody new who might be new in career or new in that role, and they don't have the same experience, right, as somebody who's been doing it for a while. And so just how do they respond to people when questions come up and when they need to provide service? One of the things that generative AI can do is drive consistency across that, right?
Yes.
Help identify the solution and then put it in a way that is structured, written in a way that the person that receives it can understand it, right? It's
consumable.
Yeah, it's an appropriate response, right? And a lot of the customers I've talked to are like, this is amazing, right? This is going to transform just how they're providing that frontline support, because it'll drive consistency in what they're doing. For decision makers, right? The ability to have conversational, prompt-driven interactions with the system and be able to pull information out of it in ways that have been, again, much more challenging in the past, will be, really powerful. And then being able to take that information and make it actionable, right? Identifying simple things like, are we missing a knowledge article, right? That's a great thing. And then, hey, AI, go write our knowledge article, right? You're getting all of these questions coming in. You're seeing the responses coming from the technology team, and now go write the right knowledge article that somebody, again, will have to review and then publish it, right? But then that adds to the overall value and the training system for the AI. So that becomes a really powerful tool. And then I think, we will see more and more things becoming available, right? We are working on our platform side to make it possible to, and just even internally, right? We are using Gen AI to help write code, right? So it's doing things faster, it's doing things more consistently. And again, it doesn't remove the humans from it. It just means that that work can get done more quickly. And then somebody's going in, validating it, making sure it's right. And, if we go back and we think about, well, where does it all start? It starts with the prompts, right? It understands with what is the input that we're providing to the AI. And we know that the better the prompts are, the better the results are. So,
and I think one of the key points, David, I think that we really should call out, again, you mentioned this twice, is that Freshworks has been working on this since 2018. All right, this isn't a new thing, and we know that automation in general isn't new. But when it comes to artificial intelligence and the commitment and the dedication that Freshworks has done, it's been seriously since 2018, right? Outside and above or beyond or on top of just automatic processes or AI generation in general. But this particular function of getting more intelligent and faster and conversational 2018, right?
That's right. In fact, we actually run every year, we run a benchmark report within our customer base, right? So we have a lot of data. We have 60,000 customers, and we go in and we're able to look at, at a macro level, the data, and able to see the kinds of results that our customers are able to achieve within their organizations using our solutions. And, on the AI virtual agent side, we're seeing ticket deflection rates as high as 46%, which is pretty amazing, right? That tickets not going to the service desk, right? We're seeing
what
that.
Percent? I'm sorry, David, what percent did you say again?
46%, so almost 50%.
Of not going to an actual human, but being resolved, right?
That's right. We're also seeing things like agent responses because of the information that AI is providing them being faster, and seeing, a 23% faster response rate, average resolution times dropping by almost 25%. So, and this is all data that we're able to just glean from the system. And then we've done other work with organizations like Forrester, where they've come in and they've surveyed customers and identified the kinds of savings that they are seeing, and things like being able to reallocate resources from kind of mundane tasks to more productive work is significant benefits there. So that can be 50% plus, right, by just identifying that regular things that come in and being able to automate the resolution of those things. So again, we've been doing this for a while.
Oh, I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tammy.
I heard with Fresh Services, was it AI Freddy, right? Or Freddy AI,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, I heard that for reporting and insights, over 8 hours are saved generating the report. But what was actually more impressive was the 90% statistic. Do you want to touch on that? That the total time saved for your team?
Yeah, and that is looking at, hey, how much time does a decision maker, a manager, a leader of a team spend trying to get reports, or the people that they have out there trying to generate reports? And yeah, exactly. Being able to have those AI driven insights is saving significant amounts of time, up to 90%. And that means that team is no longer spending time trying to slice through the data and come up with answers. It's being able to take actionable information and then go do something with it, right? Whether it's improve a process, whether it's build knowledge articles, whether it's, identify that, hey, there's a system that we're having an issue with, or a vendor that is not delivering as expected. And that's really where the value is, right? The information itself is not valuable. It's what you do with the information.
Right. So if you were to talk to somebody that doesn't have your product at all, right, and you're positioning it for the first time, and keep in context of AI and ITSM, what would be your 5-minute elevator pitch?
So I don't want to belabor people with the pitch, but I think, if you look at what Freshworks' approach has been, whether it's delivering customer solutions, customer-facing solutions for customer service, sales and marketing, or IT and employee services, our approach has always been about providing delightful experiences that deliver value quickly. When I think about our customers are looking for the reduction of complexity, right? They're looking for solutions that drive value, deliver it quickly, and and it's not just about, hey, how much time does it take to implement? It's about how long does it take me to actually receive a return on my investment? And then more importantly, I think, is what is it going to take me to maintain this system? How many people do I need to be able to create new services, create new capabilities, add new departments to my service management capabilities? What does it take me to upgrade the system, right? So it's that long-term value that is really important to us, and that's something that it's the foundation to everything we do, right? Everybody's going to talk about delivering AI and
Right.
different AI capabilities. What we're looking at is how do we deliver those AI capabilities and remove as much complexity from that as possible so that the value becomes readily apparent and not just fast time to value, but that lasting value.
So, David, I'm like, you play very key into one of the metrics I'm always talking to my clients about. The Hackett Group, we're a benchmarking consulting and advisory group, but benchmarking is our bread and butter. It's about, making sure that we have the empirical data to back up some of our recommendations. And one of the items that I talk to my clients about all the time is reducing complexity. Because IT always needs and wants cost savings. They always want better performance. They always want better metrics, KPIs, SLAs. But in order to achieve that, when you're not getting all the money thrown to you for a budget, right? It's reducing complexity. The only other way, if you're not going to get more money to do new things and innovation, it's always reducing complexity. Reducing complexity equals cost savings. It equals efficiency. It equals being able to do more in innovation because you're not maintaining complex legacy systems and processes. So complexity is key. And I talk to executives all the time about this. I talk to IT leaders all the time about this. If you're not being given more of a budget and you're asking to cut, it's complexity. You have to cut. So
I agree 100%, Tammy. I mean, that's the reality. And like I said, I've been, working with IT organizations for a long time. I know I could count on one hand the number of times that an IT leader has come in and said, oh, I've received an increase in budget, right? It's always budgets are tight. There's always an ask to do more. And that creates that huge disconnect between what the IT organization and IT leadership is trying to deliver, which is often around how do we keep the lights on? How do we maintain the systems that are mission critical? How do we deliver on, those things that we just can't not do, right? Which is security, right? You talked about security. You talked, compliance, right? Regulatory compliance, keeping critical systems available. And so those become, the thing that a lot of IT leaders that I talk to, it's like, these are the things they have to focus on, right? And we know that, what CEOs are asking for is digital transformation, right? That's the hot thing, is transform everything digitally, become much more digitally agile.
Did you read my pitch deck before this meeting? I'm like, you're nailing it. Like, literally, that's all my buzzwords.
Yeah. And, but it's the reality, right? And like you said, right, in this environment where you've got these legacy systems and you have this complexity, it's holding you back, right? Because you end up spending time managing the systems that should actually be removing friction for you so you can go do those things that the business is asking for, driving that digital, driving that digital transformation. And, we know what the risk is of not being able to do that is, ironically, other groups get funded and then they're tasked with going out and doing the digital transformation, and the IT organization is left with, keep the lights on type activities, and meeting all of those very important regulatory compliance requirements, and at the same time not necessarily having control over the digital future of the organization. So, again, getting rid of that complexity is critical.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you. David, so where I think the IT leaders and executives are challenged is that we come out of the gate saying, reduce complexity is going to be cost savings. What we don't touch on is for you to reduce that complexity, there's an investment. first. It isn't just a one for one. You can't just axe that and you have cost savings. There is an actual cost to reducing that complexity. And I think that's where IT leaders and C levels get kind of stuck. They want that one for one, but you need to make the investment to reduce the complexity to see overall less complexity and long-term savings and innovation. And I think we get caught in a quagmire of that, right? Because we're like, you want to see cost savings, reduce complexity, except you got to spend a lot of money because you're really on a legacy system sitting on the one server that is really out of date and you have no real solution for this, right? I mean, we all shake our heads about it, but it is a horrible position to be in as IT leaders. Like, we need to, you talk about the business, they get like all this funding because they can show like, progress and benefit. When it comes to IT, we have to show the cost of getting off of those legacy systems. And then down the road, a cost savings or less complexity. So, our team is just in a catch-22 when it comes to that. So I think, talking about this, more awareness, mindset, making it okay that you have to invest in IT to get long-term savings, to drive more towards innovation. And innovation, you said this was very key. It's about enabling the business. It's about enabling going to market faster, automating the business, being able to be competitive. IT is an enabling organization, but you need to enable it to enable you, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And there are milestones in the management and systems, right, where you have opportunities to look at that. And I would say, obviously contract renewals, some organizations are just like, okay, we'll continue using that management system. We'll sign the contract and, the prices increase significantly.
With no additional services, right?
or even less, right? And it's like,
right.
Okay, look at the contract, understand what you're paying for. And I'm not going to deny that there are organizations that have very complex environments, right? So it's easy to say remove complexity. There are organizations that operate in very complex environments. Even for those organizations, I would say look for opportunities to simplify and remove that complexity. But for the majority of organizations, it's looking at how can you remove complexity and start with, though, you talk about how do you claw back funding, right? It's look at where are you spending money? Are you getting value out of the solutions that you're spending the money on? And if you have doubts about that, then go and talk, right? Go talk to other vendors and ask them, hey, can you make this easier, better for me? And when I talk about cost, it's not just that renewal cost. It's how many people do you have maintaining a system? How much time does it, are you on the current version? You're paying this money. Are you able to get the benefits of the platform that you're paying for, right? Going through that upgrade process, how much time and investment does that take, right? So again, there's a lot of different ways to look at where the opportunities to pull back the dollars. And then there's all of the gains that you should get, right, from a good management system that's actually going to help you do the work and drive value for you, right? It's not just, hey, claw back dollars, but it's also, hey, we're going to get you better information. We're going to make things easier. We're going to make your teams more productive. And based on that, drive success. And I've seen organizations that have achieved that, right? And I've seen organizations that have moved from, we've had a team of 10 people maintaining a legacy platform. And, they just feel like they get beaten up because they're getting asked to do all these other things and they can't because they're focused on the legacy platform. When they've been able to extract themselves from that, get something modern in place, something that they don't have to spend as much time working on, then it's like, hey, now we can go do these other things. And it's like transformative, right? It just makes people engaged. They have the opportunity to go do the things that they joined the organization for, right? All those great things that you came in to change the world. It's like, it's taking the next step and being able to do that. And I think that's the real opportunity that organizations have in, reviewing what you're doing and where your opportunities are to remove complexity, drive value, and how can you get, the best out of out of your vendors for what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and I think a key part of that is having insight to it. I work with clients every day that actually don't have their arms around that complexity or that environment. And this is where Freshworks can really come in and, give you insight to it. This is what you have in standardization. This is what you have at outliers. I work with some very top 100 corporations of the Dow Jones, and through acquisition and time and just time, honestly, that their environment is so complex, not because they made it that way, it was just how they grew as a business, that there isn't one standard platform, right, to give them these insights. They're dealing with multiple platforms, multiple environments, and that's part of their challenge. They just need insight holistically into the environment to get started, right? Just to get started. That's without the analysis. That's without the AI. That is just, I need insight to what I have, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's
So
not an easy problem to solve, right? As you know, right? Just understanding what is the source of truth for just what do we have, right? It can be extremely challenging.
So, I mean, just a little history, and I know that we're coming to the top of the hour, is that, I have a passion for technology. I definitely went down the road with SaaS solutions. I'm in love with SaaS solutions. So I also do talk to a lot of clients that are one-off, the legacy system sitting on that server that's outdated. How can we get you, to that, SaaS solution? But wow, we started out this conversation, right, where Freshworks is a SaaS solution, where you can add tons of value into an environment. We started this conversation off with AI, right? So I thought we probably should end the conversation with AI ethically. What is your opinion on companies needing to be in charge or aware, or just any standards around implementing AI ethically? Or, like I like to say, I leave that up to our service providers. But maybe I shouldn't be so nonchalant about that. But so, what is your opinion on that?
Again, I think we are at interesting crossroads potentially with generative AI, with all of the excitement and news cycles that it's consuming. As you said earlier, Tammy, it's going to remove jobs. I think that from an ethical perspective, the key thing is understanding this is not going to remove jobs. It may end up changing jobs over time. I think right now we are early days. And so, a lot of this is going to be test, validate, improve. And at some point, you're right, if things work the way that we think they will, a lot of those tier one incidents will go away. Those interactions will go away because the AI is solving it, right? Does that mean that you wipe out those teams? No, it doesn't. It means we just talked about all of this demand to go do digital innovation, digital transformation, right? Innovate the business. Let's repurpose those people to go do those things that are truly going to create an impact for the business, right? Help you competitively, help you drive new market opportunities, just help you streamline your operations. So that is a huge opportunity right there. There's going to be a bunch of things that we will learn along the way, right? This question about copyrights, how this environment changes, how, different parties are monetizing systems. We'll see how that goes. I mean, we've certainly seen some big vendors talk about driving big dollars from AI. And that's something that, I personally take issue with, because it leaves out a bunch of other organizations, a bunch of other people, right? And that's one of the things that really attracted me to Freshworks is, our CEO G talking about, we don't serve the Fortune 500, we serve the Fortune 5 million. And I think that's really impactful, right? And that is a way of doing business that's foundational to what we do. And like I said, it's about how do we make things easier, more delightful, remove that complexity so that our customers can adopt and use and get value quickly, and that we can make those capabilities available to more than just those biggest organizations that can spend, significant amounts of money to be able to get value. Not that they're not important, right? But let's face it, there's a bunch of other organizations out there that are equally important, and they need to be able to get value as well.
I mean, David, I'll be perfectly honest. When that question was proposed to me very early on, when I started doing the podcast about AI, about ethical AI, I mean, because I have an IT brain, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's transactional. Why is this an issue? And actually, I had to educate myself on what did they mean, because it's monitor, it's, proactiveness, it's like analytics and predictive analytics. I'm like, why do I care about ethical AI? Well, I wasn't thinking holistically, right? I wasn't thinking that, with, strong technology can come opportunity for misuse. Just not really in IT. I mean, but if you look in cybersecurity, I'm like, okay, sorry, I was being myopic. So I think that when it comes to the question of ethical AI, it's not to abuse the technology and the power we're given, right? It's to do it for the best of everyone, the best for our customers, the best for, our team, the best use of that technology. Technology can always be used and abused. To me, ethical AI means that you're not going to utilize this technology in an abusive way, period. Right?
So look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was being very myopic earlier. I was like, what are you talking about? But thank you so much, David, for this time. I think I'm going to hand this over to Eric in case there's like some Q&A questions, possibly.
Thanks, Tammy.
Great. Thank you both for this excellent discussion. Just as a reminder, people in the audience can still enter questions into the chat. Now we're going to review some of the questions that have come in. The first of which is, how can people keep costs under control as they implement generative AI in an ITSM context? Somebody want to take the first swing?
David, you want me to take that real quick?
I
can tell you what I've been telling my clients.
Please do, yeah.
So I've been telling my clients, team, I've been telling my clients, wait for your technology to adopt these practices, right? Don't go out there and try to create them on your own. It'll be part of your subscription, your licensing, your seat. That is what I've been telling my clients. David might have a different answer because he's actually a software provider. So their costs versus our consumer costs, a little bit different, probably a lot more costly, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think that's good advice, right? Is look at where the market's going, talk to your vendors, see who's delivering capabilities in ways that you can use. And I think, if we look back at, previous versions of AI, some of those have been very hard from, different vendors to actually implement and get value from. And we know that there's vendors out there that offer standalone solutions. I think, looking at how you're going to get the most value, we know that 90% plus of the vendors are going to have to be able to provide these types of solutions, right? So talk to them about how they're delivering them. Talk to them about their beta programs, getting involved in those, or as they're actually starting to deliver, see what they're delivering and see if that's meeting the needs of your organization.
Great, thank you. The next question is, we are struggling with getting started with intensifying the deployment of AI in our ITSM. We have easy tasks automated, but we're having trouble leveling up. Do you have any advice for us?
So just a qualifying question, which they may or may not answer. Are they deploying this separately, or is it part of their solution provider? Part of the solution provider. I guess can't directly answer that. If they're trying to deploy this on top of a solution provider they already have, or is it a new capability that the solution provider is providing? Sorry, I can't answer that directly because it kind of sounds like it's separate.
Okay.
I mean, it could be either, right? So I think a big part of this is the easy stuff is typically easy because you have the information, you have the, let's face it, the way that the generative AI works is it's looking at information that exists, right? And it can be pulling that information from a variety of sources, but typically the easy stuff we have a lot of information on, right? And so solving those simple things is easy. Where things get challenging, right, is do we have the information for the next step, next level of things, right? A lot of it comes back to, do you have a knowledge base with a lot of good knowledge articles, right? And articles that are written in a way that the AI can look at and actually parse out what the meaning is and understand how to deliver the results. So, think about, what do you have available for the AI in terms of your language models, in terms of the data that it can access. And then, if you're running into blocks, identifying what are the blocks, what is creating those blocks, and starting off with, do we even have decent information or data to provide to the AI to be able to come up with answers? So I would think about that. And that can be a big challenge for organizations. In fact, I see that as being one of the significant challenges that organizations will have as they're trying to adopt AI. Is it's not just turn on a switch and magic happens. It's right. Yeah, turn on a switch. Again, you're going to get that low-hanging fruit value, but it's as you get into more complex things, that's where being able to mine for information, mine for past incidents that have been related to that topic. What are the results that have been generated to solve those incidents, right, that are proven, and then creating the knowledge articles that will solve for that.
And to be more specific, Eric, I would just have that person reach out to us because, their unique situation, we would need more information to, be able to address that.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what's the biggest mistake you've seen companies make in trying to add AI capabilities to their IT management, and how did they get past it?
Well, I do have an opinion of this. David, do you want to go to first?
No, do you want me to go? I'm interested in hearing what you have to say.
Treating it like it's something new that didn't already exist, and not just adapting your current procedures and processes. Generative AI and artificial intelligence has been around in corporations since the 70s. No matter what you want to call it, whether it's, robotic process automation, whatever, acting like it's something brand new in 2023 just because we got a lot of hype on Chat GPT. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a game changer. It's a technology game changer. But in your organization, you already have processes, procedures, like probably stakeholders and how to deal with automation and education. Review it, adapt it for the common new uses of what can be used with the new capabilities, but do not treat it like it is something brand new that hasn't existed since the 70s. So just that, in my opinion, is the biggest mistake that corporations are making, like it's something unheard of, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tammy. And I
maybe
think,
my opinion, maybe not the Hackett Group opinion.
I just think playing off of that is it's train your people, right? Yep. Train your people on, this new technology, on, just creating prompts is something that is like its own art and its own science right now to actually get the results that are going to be beneficial, right? Generic prompts result in generic results, right? So having more specificity around what it is you're trying to achieve will drive better outcomes. And that's just, that's a very foundational thing. Everybody should be doing that as we're working more and more with ChatGPT and the related technologies. So train your people, right? This is a great opportunity to bring your people along for the ride, right? Get rid of the fear that they're going to lose their jobs. It's like, hey, let's get you trained on these new capabilities. So, whether you're a frontline person or a back end seasoned technician, you have a role in this, right? Front lines, you need to be able to identify, is there significant, gaps in what the AI is providing as answers? And on the back end, it's how do you create better information to make that AI more productive?
Yep. And then just leaving it this: trust but verify, right? Always need to verify, and upskilling. It's not getting rid of individuals or humans. It's just upskilling, going to the next need or the next technology. And thank you guys. David, I really enjoyed this session with you. Eric, I guess this is kind of our formal sign off to the group. Thank you everyone for hanging on this long. I really appreciate it. And I turn this over to you, Eric.
Thank you both for that insightful session. This concludes today's webinar, and thanks everyone in the audience for joining us today. And thank you again to our partner at Freshworks, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks, Tammy. Thanks for the conversation. Thanks, Eric. And thank you all for listening.